Time is ticking on a divisive decision. This is a live look at the State House from our downtown Sky camera. We are in the final hours as Iowa lawmakers are working on a new abortion bill. Lawmakers have until 11 o'clock tonight to approve a bill banning most abortions once there is a detectable fetal heartbeat. Doctors say that generally happens around 6 weeks of pregnancy. According to the text of the bill, the law does make exceptions in the case of rape, incest, and fetal abnormality, and in the case of medical emergencies. We have team coverage tonight as a historic decision will be made. We begin with KCCI Chief Political Reporter Amanda Rooker. She is live in the State House with where things stand right now. Amanda.
Well, Stacey, right now, both House and Senate lawmakers are still debating this bill. House lawmakers are less than an hour away from their deadline to vote on this bill. Now, right now, abortion is legal up to 20 weeks of pregnancy with a 24-hour waiting period. But that could change as soon as tonight if lawmakers do pass this bill and it's signed into law. Now, lawmakers have been debating this for over 5 hours now, locked in fiery debate, both sides arguing that tonight's vote could either end or save lives.
Abortion is never safe for a baby, ever. Abortion always results in a death. The baby is not being considered very much here this afternoon, and I want to speak up for those unborn babies.
There are women who will have husbands who will kill them if they carry a pregnancy to term. There are women who will have parents who will kick them out on the street if they carry a pregnancy to term. The situation is not the same for everyone. I should not be deciding what other people do about their families when they start their family.
Lawmakers themselves tonight have shared deeply personal stories, some even opening up about their own abortion procedures. One Republican lawmaker says abortion left her with lifelong trauma and regret. But other lawmakers say it's health care that has saved lives and protected their own family.
I believe to my core that intensely personal healthcare decisions are best made between patients and their doctors. Every Iowan deserves the right to decide when or if to become a parent, and the idea that we would dictate otherwise is antithetical to the ideals of personal liberty and freedom.
If they're not prepared to have a baby, they shouldn't have sex, if they're that concerned about it. I will stand for everyone's right to practice abstinence. Abortion has little, if anything, to do with reproductive rights. It's after the fact.
Now, one thing to consider here is what happens if this bill is passed. In the bill, it says it's set to take effect immediately, which means abortion access would immediately change in Iowa if it is signed into law. However, it's the Board of Medicine that's in charge of administering the rules. They would be the ones to decide and interpret this bill over the exceptions of how and when doctors cannot perform abortions in cases of medical emergency. And they are the ones that would decide if they're You'll hear right now, if I believe correctly, that means that House lawmakers are actually voting on this bill right now. I'm going to toss it over to Ophelia Jacobson to talk about some of the protests that happened today at the State House, and we'll be back here soon shortly with an update on how those House lawmakers voted. But first, Ophelia, how are people feeling about this abortion bill today?
Yeah, Amanda, the protesters that I spoke to today say they're in this fight for the long haul. Many protesters took that to heart, staying here at the State House for the entire day. Now, the rotunda looks pretty empty right now. That's because it was crowded earlier today. But the protesters that are still here are either in the House or Senate chambers listening to lawmakers as they debate and vote on this bill. Abortion took center stage at the State House Tuesday. It was the #1 issue on the mind of Iowans gathered here.
It should be the right of every woman to decide her health care.
We will not back down.
Protesters crowded the halls of the State House in the morning, filling the rotunda with signs and sounds. Behind closed doors, people for and against abortion made their voices heard during a public hearing.
So I want to remind everyone that we're not talking about something with a heartbeat. We're talking about someone with a heartbeat.
And I believe in abortion health care for all Iowans. The impact of this bill is unjust and immoral.
Outside the public hearing, people banged on the doors and demanded to speak. As the hours went on, the halls of the State House calmed down. By 4, the rotunda was pretty much empty. Some protesters stuck around for the entire day, promising to see their fight to the end.
Now is the time that we need to move forward after our Supreme Court ruling. I think that we are very grateful that the legislature is moving forward with this special session because this is a life and death situation.
Protesters who stayed late into the afternoon watched as lawmakers debated the bill.
I think it's important for them to see who their constituents are and what we feel and make sure they know our opinions about things. Abortion is a personal decision and choice between a female and a doctor, and that it's health care.
Now, there was a moment today in the House chamber earlier when protesters started clapping as House Minority Leader Jennifer Confirst was speaking. But for the most part, the protesters who have been watching those debates have been mostly quiet. Now, we aren't sure if protesters are going to be coming back to the State House if this bill passes. Of course, we'll have the latest updates for you on KCCI.com. Live at the State House, Ophelia Jacobson, KCCI 8 News, Iowa's news leader.